guest today is a person. Our guest today is a person who, when picking up a controller, gets lost in a virtual world along with millions of players from many parts of the world. It's not so much an addiction, but a hobby that helps him get through his day. The Humanities and Mass Communications Department at Nora Community College presents Person to Person, a show that helps us meet interesting people you've never met. Now, welcome our host, who will introduce us to our special guest.
Good morning, welcome to the special edition of Person to Person, the show that digs deep and asks the sharpest questions. I am your host, Paul Landy. Our guest today is a student at Nora Community College, currently in the film and TV production class. He was nice enough to, to take some time and out of his busy schedule and come here today and share his interest in video gaming with you. So I'd like to talk to him about, ask him a few questions, ask him about video games. And now I'd like to introduce our guest today, Christian Katchian. Yeah.
Hello,
Hey.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I'm sorry that I'm stuttering. So, what is your earliest memory of playing video games?
My first earliest video game memories has to be probably when I went to the Toys R Us right around here in Norwalk, well, when it was Toys R Us, getting the Pokemon Fire Red.
Yeah.
And I just remember playing that and having such a fun time playing it and falling in love with it, and ever since then just having a passion for playing games. So
That's actually pretty cool. I have a similar, thing with that, with the Toys R Us being where I got got my first game. So is there ever a time you worry about losing interest in playing video games once you get older, or it could be something that maintains itself once you have children and you pass the hobby on to them?
Well, when playing the Pokemon games, they add a new gimmick each generation.
Yeah.
And I used to like that and have excitement, but as I got older, it kind of was like, well, it's kind of just the same thing, and doing the same thing, training your things, going from start to finish, being the gym leaders, getting the gym badges, leveling up your Pokemon. So I've kind of shifted away from that towards online games.
Yeah.
In online games, they usually get boring after a while, but then since with the online, they have weekly updates, so it usually keeps you enticed of playing. So say next week there's something brand new that wasn't there a month ago.
Yeah.
So it keeps you keep wanting more to play. So
Yeah, I understand you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one of your favorite video games of all time? Like, if you had to pick one, which one would it be?
My favorite video game of all time probably has to be Smash Bros. Specifically Ultimate, because it basically has the most jam-packed of any game. I grew up playing Brawl a lot, but after playing Smash Bros. Ultimate, it's such a fun game. Anybody can play it. Just pick it up with friends and family. Very simple controls, and it's an all-around great game. And it's very friendly. It's not with any blood, so you don't have to worry about parents saying it's too violent or something. And for younger kids and even kids in their 20s, they still have the same interest in it. And what else? There's actually eSports, and it's amazing seeing pro players, people older than I am, playing this game for a living almost.
Yeah.
And it's quite amazing.
Yeah, I recently just picked up a Switch just to get the new Smash. Quite enjoy it. So, moving along a little bit after past Smash. So, I'm assuming you play Smash now, right? But what is your favorite game at the moment? What are you playing right now that you love the most? One that you are avidly playing.
Well, the one I'm actually playing right now is League of Legends. It's an online battlefield game where you work with 4 other players, and there's 5 on each team, and you have to destroy their enemy nexus, which is their base.
Yeah.
And at times it can be annoying and frustrating because the community is very... they have their goals set on winning, and if it's something detours from that, they get very upset.
Yeah.
So,
Toxic.
Yeah. And weekly, they have new skins that are cosmetics. So your character can be, say, a cyborg from the future. It could be a samurai from the past. It could be an alien. They keep making new skin lines each 2 weeks. And now recently they've done a thing called True Damage, which is their music group, featuring 5 champions in the game. So, but yeah, that's what I'm playing mostly right now. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've heard of League. I've tried League out, but it wasn't my thing, really.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who love that game, though. What has been your experience been playing online? Like, so what has it been like with people from other parts of the world? You know, not like USA or Connecticut. You know, somewhere else, somewhere where you wouldn't expect that you could play with them unless like they were like in your living room. And have you ever had to deal with toxic players who like to spew derogatory terms? You know, things, racist terms, anything like that?
Well, you know, as you probably know, League is one of the most toxic games online.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty bad, but you know, after I've been playing since 2013. So when I actually was shown the game by my brother when he went to his first year in college, and he said, "You should try this game out." And I was like, "All right." And I found it was pretty fun. And that was like 2014, 2013. So after a while, you've kind of grown an immunity towards the derogatory terms people call you when you don't get the objective right, or if you mess up. So, and then what was the first part you asked me again?
I had what has been your experience with other people like across the world, like not just like couch co-op? What like other players like online with people like in like say China or Europe or any of those places? What has been your experience with them?
Okay. My experience with them has probably been, it's cool that you can play with people from like China or Japan or Korea. And I mean, like when I play in Smash, people have those gamer tags above their name, and sometimes when I see a Chinese guy, I know I'm screwed. But it's a different way of playing. For example, in League, there's the Korean servers, and there's the European servers, there's the Turkey servers, there's like North America, and there's just such a different gameplay. Yeah. And even the pro players say that NA is such a disadvantage because we don't do things that Koreans do. So when we go to the world tournaments once a year, the Koreans just stomp everybody. And it's a whole different experience. You have to kind of maybe just go there and maybe go on that server and just maybe like see what it's like there. Because it's just a whole different way of thinking almost.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of those tournaments where the Koreans just kind of wipe the floor with people.
Yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous. And then just to touch on the toxicity thing, I always heard the best response is no you. So
honestly, what I say for that is just if somebody's giving you issues, just mute them and continue playing your game. It's not worth your time. If you think about it, it's some kid probably.
Yeah, it's some 12-year-old.
Just have nothing better to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So just mute them and just keep playing your game and just move on. It really helps.
Yeah. So we all have our own forms of dealing with stress. What do you feel after a long day at work or school to sit down and play games for a few hours?
Well, what I do is maybe I'll play a few games with friends on Smash Online in the arena mode, or I'll play a few games of League and I'll just listen to some music in the background, just playing casuals. And also there's competitive mode, non-competitive mode. So when in competitive, people are usually like wanting to win, and when it's normal, people are kind of more laid back, don't really care. Personally, I don't really mind if I lose a normal game. It doesn't really affect me in any way. So I don't get upset doing that. But when it's ranked, it's like, all right, I don't want to lose. Like, I want to get up my rank. So, I like just relaxing, playing 1 or 2 games and listening to music, just kind of playing with friends,
Yeah. Yeah. So have you been playing newer video games soured you from playing the older games where the graphics aren't as crisp or as clean?
Well, as you know, 2000 and 2019 are completely different for the video game industry. 2019 has been showing off the new PS5 coming out soon. Sony just patented the names PS5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Next few years landed.
So and the graphics compared to the PlayStation 2 and even PlayStation 1 have been substantially better. And, it's amazing how much games have evolved. Like, if you look at Smash Bros. For the 64, they look like puppets with, like, triangles on them everywhere. And then you look at Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it's just so clean. You can see the texture, the shadow, the lighting. It has evolved so much. But looking back on it, when I play these old games, it's just it really gives you a hit of that old nostalgia feeling because it brings you back. So like I remember when I played Fire Red, if I still have it, I would be like, wow, I remember playing this when I was a kid. I remember like thinking this was the coolest thing. It really hits you with that nostalgia feeling.
Yeah.
And you know, after playing these newer games with these better graphics, and for the most part, I prefer to play newer games. But like this, for example, you can see here the Banjo remake game. It's cool. I never actually played Banjo, but I do know they did a similar thing with Ratchet and Clank, where they remastered it from the PS1 to the PS4, and it's amazing how much it's changed. It's the same game, but with just so much better graphics, mechanics, bug fixes, you know, and it's a really good way to get re-emerged into these old games.
Yeah, so just to touch on that a little bit more, like, so as you mentioned, you brought up, you know, the Bandicoot game and the Ratchet and Clank games. You know, how do you, like, what are your thoughts on them being remade? Like, do you like the fact that they're being remade, or do you think maybe they should kind of stay in their timeline? How do you, like, feel about them remaking so many, even? Like,
I personally like when they remake things because it gives you a chance to kind of play the games that you didn't maybe get a chance to when you were growing up.
Yeah.
For example, I didn't have a PS2 growing up. I only got to play it at friends' houses, and then once I got a PS4, I got the remake mastered of Sly Cooper, 1, 2, 3, and 4, or just the first 3, and then 4 came out after I played. And it was so much fun to just have a chance to play those games again, but remastered on a better platform and just see everything just kind of cleaned up a bit. So I do like how they remaster games to give the newer generations of younger kids a chance to play the older games that they might have missed when they weren't around.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good way to re-emerge it into that experience that you might have missed.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you because it allows like kids to play the games that we kind of grew up, or like some of the people grew up playing, and gives them that same experience, and their parents can relate. But now touching on the subject of, you know, like kids, like, but more or less teenagers, high school, and younger, more influential. What are your thoughts on like the media blaming video games, like violent video games, for shootings such as, like, let's say the Columbine or any other school shooting that you could possibly pick up that the media blamed video games for it?
Well, you know, these video games, they have ratings for M for mature, teen for teen, E for everyone. And, you know, I feel like the media just doesn't like them because that's what most of the kids are doing nowadays. They're playing on their games rather than playing outside and hanging out with friends, like back in like 2000, I remember doing. And it's just, I think times it's changed, and the media wants to blame them for all the downfalls of things that used to be so popular. So I think the media will just blame video games for pretty much anything.
Yeah.
At least that's my personal opinion. I'm sure that if kids who are, say, 9 years old play rated M games, which are made for mature people who are supposed to be 18 and over, might have a negative effect, I'm sure, to a degree, but not directly related, saying, oh, you played Call of Duty one time, now you're going to do a school shooting. It's very silly, and I think they must have more backed up research than just saying, oh, you've played it and you've done that. Well, you know how many other billions of players have played Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, I always find it funny when they try to blame video games for that. Like, what was it? Like, they try to blame Fortnite for like one of the most recent ones, and it's like, ain't no one walking around doing that. Like, oh man, I lost the match. I'm not going to say that. Cause
people have to have common sense, you know. It's just a game. Like Smash Bros, you know, is just you fight people, hit them off the stage, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to fight. Yeah,
somebody. You're not going to see a kid running around with a giant hammer just smashing people off a stage. Yeah. So. But so touching back to what I remember you had mentioned Koreans and eSports. How do you feel about the recent boom of eSports lately, like in the past decade or so?
You know, eSports have been a huge thing. At least they have been since Melee, actually.
Yeah.
That came out in like 2008. I want to say maybe earlier, maybe 2006. And it's been a thing, and I didn't really notice it until 2015 when. For League of Legends, I think that was the big boom, and when it started being noticeable. I know there was Dota, Smash Bros tournaments, and even Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. Like, I didn't even know those were things. Yeah. And like online versions of it, and like Tekken and like Street Fighter and all these games you can imagine. And I think that if you take League of Legends Season 1, it was maybe an auditorium from like a high school.
Yeah, it was
half the chairs being filled, and then you take like 10 years later, Madison Square Garden just jam-packed.
Yeah,
with
like-
thousands of people watching, and then thousands of people on stream watching.
Yeah, elbow to elbow, sweat to sweat.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it's gotten off the ground since early 2015, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So going into that, do you feel that esports would maybe fuel, say, like if someone has an addiction to video games, do you think it'll make it worse? Do you think it gives, adds, kind of makes someone get addicted to video games watching these esports, thinking about it? Just kind of, it's more or less, what are your thoughts on kind of the addiction to video games? And do you think esports pushes more towards it or not? Or, what are your thoughts on it, really?
well, my thoughts on it are, if you want to get better, like for me, I played League casually for about 2 years, and then once it was 2015, 2016, I was like, you know what? I want to get good, and I want to say that I'm actually good. And so I started learning, reading about it, studying on it, and then watching esports to see what they do, so I could incorporate it into my own gameplay. And when you really watch it nowadays, it's like a whole new game. It's like playing tennis for fun and then seeing professional tennis players play. It's just so substantially different.
Yeah.
Unless you're trained to be a professional, it's just completely different. And I feel like some kids, I've noticed that Fortnite tournaments have been the thing, and kids are now playing and wanting to play better and winning in all these tournaments.
Yeah, 16-year-old just won $3
I heard about that.
million.
16-year-old won $1 million or something dollars.
It was $3 million.
$3 million, yeah. And it's just I don't think it feeds for the addiction. I mean, for some people, if they want to get better, they can maybe skew it toward, because it's mostly watching than actually playing.
Yeah.
Some things are better playing than watching. I know I played golf before, and I like it, but then watching it, I'm sure it's not really exciting for everybody.
Yeah.
So I feel like for some people, it would differ. So.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. So there's a stereotype floating around of video gamers being introverts due to online gaming, where before you had to go to a friend's house to play a coach co-op game. What has been your experience in regards to making friends who share the same passion of video games as you?
Well, I find friends that play at school around. I mean, nowadays it's harder. I do remember playing on the GameCube with friends, being in the same room, playing and just having that nice, fun experience. But playing online, I mean, I have friends on Discord that I call once in a while, and we just play a few games, and it's still nice to play with the people that you know, but not having that physical experience while you're with them, it's very different.
Yeah.
It's like watching TV and watching something live,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole different experience, like watching the Super Bowl at the Super Bowl, or just watching it in your living room. You know? You have your family around, that's nice, having maybe, say, a little party, but when you're actually there, you can hear the crowd roaring, you can see the ball, the sweat drip off the players, it's a really cool experience having people actually there. So, I feel like it's changed a lot because of now the online stuff has gotten so much better. I do remember in the PS3, when it came out in 2011, they tried doing online play, and it was still developing, so it was pretty bad, but you could still play multiplayer, physically. Yeah. And I feel like now they've kind of mastered that online play, and it's good, but preferably I prefer playing with people in person.
Yeah. Well, you were mentioning, it's that feeling of just being there with someone, or being in person. It has
calmed down, or toned down a bit since the early, I want to say 2010. But it's just something that kind of goes away, and VCRs, they were nice for while they lasted. Yeah. I used to like them more better than DVDs because they didn't scratch. I used to be really bad with taking care of my things. Yeah. But after a while, the VCRs just faded away. So it's just something you have to kind of, get used to, Yeah. They'll still be there, but mostly things will just be online.
It'll still be there, but as time goes on, newer things come in and kind of take that spot almost. So today we met someone who was giving us insight into his interest of video games. He allowed us to give his point of view concerning certain topics in regards of video games and the industry and the people who have made it a huge community with players from many walks of life who share the same interests. They may not all speak the same language, but they all understand what gaming means to them. We hope you enjoyed meeting Christian Kachian. Continue to join us for future shows as we meet many interesting people from our community. Thank you and have a nice day.
You have just met Christian Ketchum. Special thanks to our host, Paul Landy. This was directed by Juan Pablo, and I'm your announcer, Tyrese L. Person to Person is a Norwalk Community College student production.